Now we're on to the second video of writing equations in slope-intercept form. So second video, writing equations in slope-intercept form. The first thing that we need to go over in this video again is how to find slope of 2 points. So if we're given 2 points, how do we find slope? We went over this last chapter, but the equation's kind of confusing and I understand where we would need to review it. So let's say we have 2 points, x1 and y1, and a second point, x2 and y2. The equation that we're going to use is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Because we're looking for the rise over run in our slope. So the rise part is always the y coordinate, and the run part is always the x coordinate. So we're doing the y coordinates over the x coordinates. So we'll take y2 minus that y1 over x2 over the x1. And that will give us our slope from 2 points. So being able to use that, we're going to look at this graph. We see that we have a graph. They gave us points this time. Our points are 0, -5, and 3, -1. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write those up here also. So we have 0, -5, and 3, -1. And what we're doing is we want to write an equation for the following graph in slope-intercept form. And our slope-intercept form, again, is y equals mx plus b. So we need to figure out what our m is, which is our slope. We need to figure out what our b is, which is our y-intercept. So if we look at our graph, I'm going to get the y-intercept right out of the way. This is our y-axis. We need to figure out where the line crosses it, and we can see that it crosses it at 0, -5. So our y-intercept is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the negative direction. So our y-intercept is -5. Now, here comes where some of the work that we're going to have to do. We need to find the slope between these 2 points. And on the last slide, I looked at how we find the slope of 2 points. We need to take y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So looking at our 2 points, we have y2 minus y1. So we're going to have -1 minus -5 over 3 minus 0. So 3 minus 0. Looking at that equation, -1 minus -5, keep change. So -1 plus 5, that will give us 4. And then looking at 3 minus 0, that's self-explanatory. 3 minus 0, of course, is 4/3. This 3, so we get 4/3. Our slope then is 4/3. We used the equation that we've had. We plugged in our numbers, and we end with a slope of 4/3. We're not done yet. We still need to write an equation for the following graph in slope-intercept form. So to do that, we have our y equals mx plus b form. So we'll get y equals our slope is 4/3 times x plus b. It's -5, so from the last video also, we're going to write -5 instead of +5. It's a negative. And that gives us our equation. Everything that we did before, all of this, finding the points, finding the slope, finding the y-intercept, doing all of this, ends up with us being able to create this equation. The answer is this equation. The slope's not the answer. The y-intercept's not the answer. What we're looking for is to write an equation. So our equation is our answer. Y equals 4/3 x minus 5. That's what we do in this situation. So now, what if they don't give us the graph? What if they just give us 2 points? We'll have the point 0, 2, and we'll have the point 4, -1. What we need to do is we need to find the slope, and we need to find what the y-intercept is. So in this case, we can't see the graph. So finding the y-intercept is a little trickier than in the last problem. But if we look at a coordinate plane, we look at the y-axis, what is x going to have to equal if it's on the y-axis? X will have to equal 0. So, do either of our points have a 0 for the x? Well, the first one does. It has 0 for x, meaning that this y is going to be our y-intercept. So our b is +2. Our y-intercept is +2. And I found that again. I'm going to reiterate it again. Our y-axis, that's where it needs to cross for it to be our b. Our x is going to have to be 0 to be in our y-axis. So anywhere there's a 0 for the x, that's our y-axis, y-intercept. We got the 0 here, so our y-intercept is 2. So b is 2. Now we need to find the slope. And to find the slope again, we take the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we have our 2 points. I'm going to take my y2 minus my y1. So I'll get -1 minus my 2 over my x's, so 4 minus 0. So my x2 is 4. My x1 is 0. So I get -1 minus 2 over 4 minus 0. And what that gives me, -1 minus 2 will be -3. 4 minus 0, self-explanatory again. 4 minus 0, of course, is 4. So our slope is -3 over 4, or how we look at our slopes, -3/4. We're looking at the whole slope being negative. So m equals -3/4. And having all that information now, we need to put it in our equation. It's not asking for what the slope is between the two. It's asking us to write an equation. So we need to write it in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. My m equals -3/4. So -3/4 times x plus whatever my b is, which is 2, and it's positive, so it's going to say a plus this time. So my equation now is y equals -3/4 x plus 2. And that's the answer that we're looking for. Again, we're not looking for the slope. We're not looking for just the y-intercept. We need both of those informations to get our answer, but the answer we're really looking for is this y equals -3/4 x plus 2. So if we're given 2 points without the graph, we can still make the equation using that information. Another question that can come up to being able to write equations in y-intercept form is in the functions. So last chapter we went over functions and we learned how to use them. What we're going to do now is we need to use the informations from the functions to then create an equation. So f of 0 equals 5 and f of 4 equals 17. So what we talked about with functions, whatever's in the parentheses, that's my input. and my input works with x's. So whatever's in the parentheses is going to be my x, and then whatever it equals, that's my output. And my output is always going to be my y's. So, using this information from our functions, and we know what our inputs and what our outputs are, we're able to now make points out of our functions. So, f of 0 equals 5. That means my input is 0, input's x, so x is 0. Equals 5. Whatever it equals is our output, and that's our y, so our y is 5. Now with the second one, whatever's in the parentheses input, that's my x, so my x is 4. Whatever's it equal to is our output. Output is y, so it equals 17, so my y is 17. Now, this problem looks a lot like the last problem we worked on. We have 2 points, so let's find our m, and let's find our b. To find our b, it's whenever our x equals 0. That's where our y-intercept will be. So do either of these points have an x of 0? This x is 4. Bingo. X is 0, so our y-intercept is going to be 5. So now we know what our y-intercept is. We need to figure out what our slope is. And now we have to do that long equation, the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to take my y2, subtract my y1. So I'll have 17 minus 5 over my x2 minus x1, 4 minus 0. 4 minus 0. Simplify that out. 17 minus 5 is 12. 4 minus 0 is 4. So that means my slope is 12 over 4. But 12 over 4 can be simplified. So I'm going to simplify that down again. 12 divided by 4 would just be 3. So my slope is just 3. My slope is now 3. If you kept it 12 over 4, you're probably wondering, would that be wrong? No, it would not be wrong, but I'm going to tell you right now, this 3 is way easier to work with. It looks much better. It looks much cleaner. It's a less scary equation. Use the 3. Make sure you simplify your fractions. I'm not going to mark you wrong if you don't, but you should be able to notice that this fraction can be simplified and simplify it. So we have a slope of 3, a y-intercept of 5. I need to put it in y equals mx plus b form. So y equals, my slope is 3, so 3x plus, my b is positive 5, plus 5. So again, we're not looking for just the slope. We're not looking for just the y-intercept. We're looking for the equation. And your equation is y equals 3x plus 5. And that's our answer. So,